Piero rete del Piero.
Pallone con i contadini per Nedved, gol! Pirlo, la conclusione in rete! Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco!
Del Piero, gol! Alex Del Piero! Palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete! Un gol incredibile! Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
Ciao Bianconeri. Welcome to episode 352 of the Turin Giants podcast. We are coming to you live on YouTube just minutes after today's final whistle against Pisa, bringing your instant reactions while these emotions are still fresh. And I am your host for today, and I am joined today by Frederic. Frederic, how are you doing today, my friend? ¿Cómo stai?
Not as good as Kevin, I feel, who we see appearing, but I'll get into that later on. We'll focus on our lucky charm in Turin first and get back with my mood later.
Here we go. How's it going,
Hey
Kevin?
guys, I'm doing great. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Everything's well, man.
Well, awesome. So that was a beautiful half of football, right?
We were just talking. I saw some people in chat. I think we might have to pitch in to get you to go to all home games starting today because you
So,
are
I was-
officially the lucky charm.
Well, I was just talking about it with my friends here. So of the 5 matches I've been to so far, Parma 2-0, Inter 4-3, Napoli 3-0 with you, this match 4-0, and then that poor excuse of a Lecce match, but we'll discard that one. But no, it's been
Yeah.
great. It's been great. That was a fun, like I said, it was a fun half of football. I don't think much commentary is needed on the first half. We were playing a man down with David, and I'll leave it at that.
What was the buzz like in the stadium for Marione before the game, Kevin?
That was a surprise. I didn't know that he was going to be there. So about 5 minutes before kickoff, they started flashing videos of our beloved player Mandžukić, and everybody started going crazy. They introduced him, gave him a new kit, and he walked over close to Curva Sud. They started singing his name. On our Instagram account, there should be a video of him interacting with Curva Sud, but that was really nice. That was a nice moment.
Excellent. What'd you think of that second half, Kev? How was that absorbed from, what are you, 227 there above the curva?
Yeah, that the exact sector. I thought the team was going to get jeered and booed after the first half. It was just too slow. We didn't look like we wanted to take any shots, but there wasn't. It just Curva Sud just kept singing. It didn't turn into any negativity, and the changes Spalletti made at halftime, kudos to him, just recognizing that the team was not performing. There wasn't the right interplay up top, and made the right changes, and it was a different half of football. So going into the second half, it was a completely different game, as everyone saw.
Can I ask him? Oh, sorry to interrupt. I just have the most important question now that we have Kevin on live. Kev, how was the pizza, man?
The pizza we had at lunch was fantastic. And Jack knows what we're talking about because Jack went there too when he went to a match earlier this season.
Yep.
At the Padalino
Amazing.
factory.
Padalino from Torino. I love it. Kevin, how was I don't know if you heard the same thing in the stadium that we were hearing on the American feed here. How was the reception for Juanito?
Well, I'm sure what I heard was a lot louder and more pronounced. No, the second he stood up and went to the touchline to be subbed in, the Uomo di Merda chants started. Pretty intense. I don't know. I'm split on my sentiment towards that. I mean, when you give that many years in the black and white shirt to this club, there's one club you don't join, and that's the club he did join. We all know that. However, we didn't want to renew him or extend him. He wanted to keep his family in Italy, and if that was the only offer he had a choice to make. And I know he did it for personal reasons. So I don't know. I think it's a bit over the top, but I do understand it from a fan
I think
perspective.
the beef with Cuadrado is him to jump when they were singing "Chi non salta un Juventino di merda," and he was jumping like crazy. And I think that's where the beef started. Also,
Yeah,
Kev, if I may, I just
reasonable.
want
Yeah,
to
please.
specify he had 4 offers from Italy, including the
Okay, so
Inter
if that's
one.
the case,
So
then I did not know that. So that was a poor choice.
he chose the best paying job. He could have went to another club, which I won't specify, for 600 grand a year less. But he chose the 600 grand more, and I think a lot of the hate, because it is hate, stems from that.
I think it's a bit of a gray.
Reasonable.
The professional and the person are two different in my mind. That's why I think I lean where Kevin is for the person, but professionally, I understand.
Di merda.
How is that now? What's the atmosphere like outside the stadium now, Kevin? I know
We're it's pretty dead here. We're about to get on a tram and head into the city, so I was hoping to get on before we started the trek back. Otherwise, it would be difficult to join a bit later on.
Okay, give my regards to our usual friends there, if you don't
Yeah,
mind, Kev.
say hello. Here they are.
Hi, ciao.
What I will say, just as maybe some parting comments, and then you guys can start to unpack your analysis. But I just think from a player perspective, I think Chico had one of his better matches. I think he showed a lot of energy. He showed a lot of heart. I think he ran his tail off. He contributed to play, had the assist with Yildiz, if I'm remembering correctly. He just needs to shoot faster. He just takes one or too many touches too frequently, but I thought tonight was a positive performance from him. Kanon was great. He had a underwhelming first half, but everybody did. But in the second half, he came to life in the middle of the pitch, which is nice to see that could potentially be an option for us moving forward through these remaining matches of the year. He played well. I think Cambiaso, to his credit, did not have a blackout moment in this match. I think it was a relatively solid performance. Nice to see him get on
Yay.
the score sheet. That Locatelli did well. That splitting pass for Boga there at the end was something else. Did the television pick up that outside of the boot pass on the touchline to Chico midway through the second half? Did you guys see that pass that Loca made?
Oh, to Chico
Yeah.
prior to the third goal.
Yes, I think so. I'd have to go back and check. But from where we were, right? Because like where our seat is in the corner, we have a complete like that touch line is like we're looking straight at it. And he had this like Luka Modrić-esque like chop at the ball at the outside of his foot. It looked like this ball was going completely out, but then curled back in for Chico to run onto. And that was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, yeah, it
So he
was.
had he had
I
a
saw
he had a nice game.
I saw a pissed off Chico at a substitution. Was that visible during the
Yeah,
live game as well?
yeah, for sure. Spalletti went over and kind of gave him a hug, patted him on the back a couple times. I just think he wanted to keep going. I think he probably felt he had a goal in him to wrap up that game and was a bit frustrated. But I think there was no love lost. The last thing I'll say here before we jump on the tram, and I don't know how well this was picked up by the television feed, was just the warmth shown towards Spalletti in that match. After Kefren scored, running over, celebrating with the coach, Yildiz ran over and hugged him after he scored. So I just thought it was really nice. It was nice to see that embrace, and I think we all know that the renewal is coming, and the support for him was something great to see.
Yeah, indeed it was. It was a good sign of things to come, and seeing that the confidence is still high and the manager is definitely something we need with a bit of continuity going into next season, hopefully in Champions League. So, Kev, it was amazing to see you, man. I miss you.
Yeah,
Wish
great to
could be
see
there
both of
with
you too.
you.
Wish you both were.
And enjoy your evening still. Thank you so much for hopping on. And please give my regards to our friends from Turin. Tell them I miss them. And it was nice to see them as well, be it from afar. And enjoy your evening and your stay, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah,
Thank you, Frederic. And thank you to everybody listening and joining live on YouTube. Fino alla fine, Forza Juve.
I'm so jealous.
I know, me too.
So
All right.
jealous.
That was a bit of a digression from our opening, so I'm just gonna. I know we already dove in. I'm gonna digress just to do a little housekeeping. Quick shout out to everyone watching live with us on YouTube. We appreciate you being here. All of you commenting, joining us. We appreciate the comments. We will highlight some of those later. If you're catching us later on audio, thanks for listening. We always appreciate you as well. Under our Turin Giants umbrella, I just want to mention that we do have several shows. We love covering all aspects of Juve from all perspectives. First of all, we have a wonderful show featuring my co-host here, Frederic, and our friend Zach, called The Scoop. It's our transfer show where we break down, or they break down, the latest rumors, transfer reports, even reactions surrounding Juve's moves on the market. Then those same two beautiful bald bastards host a show that is called It's Black and White. It is a wonderful debate show where they will tackle some of the more controversial topics around Juve, try to look at both sides of the argument, and then you as a listener get to decide who the winner of that debate is. And finally, we have Turin Giants After Hours, hosted by the one and only Farhad. It's sort of a late night talk show style show where he brings on special guests, conducts interviews, tells stories, just some fun conversations, a little more low-key about the Juventus that we love. And then just a reminder, wherever you are following us in the world, we appreciate you joining us. You can find Turin Giants on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And of course, the full video version of every episode is always available on YouTube at Turin Giants Official. You can follow us on Instagram at Turin Giants and visit turingiants.com to check out our merch, some of which I'm wearing today. And remember, if you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star rating. It helps us grow and reach more Juve fans around the world. So even though we had to digress away from a conversation, episode 352, Frederic, what are your initial reactions? Let's get this rolling.
Well, first, we forgot to discuss the thing we have with Beppe every Thursday. It's Just Juve featuring Turin Giants weekly report, which we all love and all like doing. Shout out to Uncle Beppe, who got his prediction right for today, 4-0. So that leaves me a bit of in a bad spot concerning the table. But also, I'd like to remind the people that next week we have our celebratory anniversary episode coming up with regards to reaching 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which will be awesome. It'll be a lighter take on the game, and we'll do some nice giveaways too. So stay tuned. If you see anything pop up on our social feed with regards to when this will happen, you have to join. You just have to. You'll be mad if you don't join. No. It's gonna be amazing, and you'll get to know the people behind Turin Giants within a different perspective, and a lot of storytelling, a lot of bullshitting, a lot of fun memories, and a lot of giveaways too. So get in there.
Join us. Watch out on the socials for when that episode is going to take place.
Yeah.
All right. So we heard from Kev. Frederic, what do you think? Juve Pisa 4-0 on our Mister's birthday.
It's a nice change of pace, because the month of February wasn't kind to us in terms of results. We saw some amazing games, a lot of them adrenaline filled and controversial. So I was hoping for an easy, more business-like approach to this game. But after that first half, I was very concerned, because the first half to me was one of the worst halves we played under Spalletti once again. And I was kind of concerned that it was a psychological block once again, not just the physical, because we had a week to recover and to prepare for this game, which was of vital importance to us. And a lot of what if scenarios went through my head during those 15 minutes in the break period. And I'm very happy that it turned out the way it did, because I don't know what would have happened if we were to, you know, get a goal down in the first minutes of the second half. So overall, I'm happy, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we're definitely not out the woods yet. I think we need to prepare ourselves for another 9 or 10 finals that we'll have this year, and I hope they all go the same way this one went. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of online chatter about us having sort of the easiest run in of games. I don't want to digress too far, but I don't know that I definitely, I agree with that. I think we do have some challenging games coming up. I agree, it's going to be like 9 or 10 finals. So I hope we can keep our head down and play like we played today in the second half. So quickly to the starting 11. We had, and I'm going to highlight a comment up here that we saw a little earlier from our friend Alex. Perin in goal. Then we had 4 in the back with Cambiaso, Kalulu, Gatti, and Bremer. Turam and Locatelli in the midfield. McKinney, Chico, Yildiz behind Jonathan David. Besides for Perin in goal, any surprises for you, Fred?
Maybe Kelly agreed he had not the best period since this season in the last 2 or 3 games. I think that was down to fatigue, to be honest. I chalked it up to fatigue. That's another issue. But I think him starting on the bench was a clear sign of Spalletti saying, okay, this guy needs some rest. And I think Spalletti intended to give him the whole game, but, he had to intervene midway and was forced to bring him on, because I think Gatti, we all know Gatti, you can hate him or love him, but I think he's of added value as a sub. I don't think Gatti has the qualities to be a starter. So I raised my eyebrows a bit there, but couldn't go much wrong, because Pisa's not the offensive force that you need to reckon with, to be honest. And maybe the Perin Di Gregorio change up. I honestly thought that Di Gregorio would resume his role from this game onwards. Apparently, that's not the case. I didn't check with my people within Juventus to see what's going on there, but I think it's clear to see that he needs some time mentally. Or option B, Spalletti doesn't trust him anymore. And in my honest opinion, it's going to be a mix of both. And apart from that, I think it was the most logical starting 11 that we could assume at this point. So
I was wondering.
I don't think there was.
I was wondering right after kickoff if this is our starting 11 going forward. We have 1 game a week, like you said. We have 10 finals. I liked the other thing I noticed was McKinney back in that sort of 10 role. I thought he had a very free role today. And while he might not have had the best game, that Yildiz, that third goal was created by his run that opened up that space for Chico to play that ball across, right? So that free role is really, he's playing it well, and he's using it to the advantage of his teammates. I feel like, whether he's tracking back and offering support on defense in the channel, or pushing forward, and making those runs that open up spaces. I think he's of an added value when he's a little further up the pitch, even though I do understand why he covers on defense sometimes. Yeah. We have those Cambiaso blackouts that Kevin referred to, and they get exhausting to watch after a while.
Yeah, yeah. I think with regards to the starting 11, I think it's easy to pick out like 7 that Spalletti always chooses and whatever. But then you have these interchangeable parts, man, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these interchangeable parts, in the sense of players, will be gone next season and will be interchanged with new players. But the question begs, how long are you gonna stand for this? And I think Spalletti's patience with some of the players is over. We could actually pinpoint that moment with Openda, and I think today is the moment that we can pinpoint that with David, and I know we'll get into that. But David's been given plenty of chances this season to do something to improve, and there was this slight moment where we thought that, he broke loose and that everything was going well, but even if you look at the game today, apart from potential goals or even assists, he didn't bring much to the table. It's like Kevin said, we were playing with 10 men. And
he was on my list to talk about in a little more,
yeah,
detail. I felt like every time he was getting the ball today, he was slowing the game down too much. I think there's a fine line there between hold up play and appropriate distribution, and then slowing the game down too much. And even the missed would have been assists for Yildiz in the first half when he was by himself in the box and he just plays it off of the defender's knee, or the shot that was blocked because he takes an extra touch that he doesn't need. Often mistakes of his are leading, and there's a turnover at half field, right? He turns the ball over almost inside the circle at one point. Mistakes in the counterattacks or complete missed chances, and it's Zach talks a lot about wasted chances, but sometimes we're not even getting to take the shot because of balls lost in the box that don't need to be lost. And that part was me.
I agree completely with you there, and I think the the thin red line through our whole season. We talked about lack of quality, and it shows again today in a certain sense that if you mix that lack of quality with a lack of inertia, lack of tempo and speed, then we suffer. Then we aren't able to bring anything on this pitch. When we up the pace, we up the tempo, and you have these players that have that potential to do something magical within a certain time frame, and it just clicks. And some might say overperform in a certain sense. That we're very good, but it's either being completely shit or being very good. We went from not creating any chance against Pisa in one half to scoring 4 in the second one. That means there's no consistency, and in the long run, especially the long run up to next season, it'll cost you points again. This is something we need to remedy, and in my opinion, the only thing you can do now is try to make the best of the situation and the players you have, but you have to get that quality injection into next season, regardless of Champions League qualification or not. I think in order to grow and to build and gain momentum as a team, as a club, you need those quality injections, and have those players that can decide games like these in the flinch of an eye, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before we get into just a little bit of chat about the first half, because there wasn't much to say, I want to thank everyone for joining us in the live. Pinu, some returning friends, Azaru, sorry, 4394, I apologize. Skippy joining us. Thank you, everyone. Del Piero 109, we have some regulars returning. We appreciate all of you. Alex, thank you for your halftime assessment there of Spalletti's team talk. I think it was perfect. But right before he slapped every one of them at halftime, we do need to touch on just a few moments, because we don't want to waste too much time, because the first half was a bit of a waste. We already talked about David. I have just my anecdotal kind of thoughts here. Best of the first half, Chico. Worst of the first half.
Yeah, agreed.
David. Yeah. Chico created a few chances, dangerous in the box, particularly towards the end of the half. Anything else of note? Any players of note that did something positive in the first half that you think is worth highlighting?
Positive. I think Gatti was very unstable. I think Gatti, coming off the energy boost that he had against Roma, where he did, secure a point for us in the long run, I felt he was a bit insecure in a way. I'm not sure how to put it, but defensively felt a bit awkward at times. I don't know if it's because of the lack of communication between him and Bremer, or not being completely match fit. I have no idea, but you could see that there was something not quite right. And Bremer, to me, had a horrible game overall. Whereas everybody improved in the second half, I think he was the one who was possibly even worse in the second half.
Yeah, and it seemed to me that Gatti was a bit more defensively disorganized or mentally disorganized on defense because of his position.
Yeah.
He did seem more central, and Bremer seemed further to the right, just based on what we've been seeing, right? And there were even a couple of moments where Bremer was pushing forward when in the past we might have seen Kalulu making that run. And we did see Kalulu make the runs today, but there were a few times where I was almost confused by his advanced position. I wasn't sure tactically.
Yeah. It looked like they played alongside each other for the first time. To be honest, it didn't felt like it was something that was rehearsed throughout the training week or whatever. It felt very haphazardous and very improvised, and I'm not quite sure that also led to us being a bit overwhelmed in midfield, because you saw that when we had those plays going up, especially Bremer at a certain moment, you could feel that we were flooded in the midfield by defensive midfielders from Pisa and even their defenders, and it led to all sorts of trickery with no direct result or consistent attacking movement from our side. So I think that was one of the reasons why Gatti was subbed as well, for Bremer to be put back as a central midfielder and have Kelly, being somewhat not offensive minded, but maybe the more reserved of the backs that we have. So
what do you think of Del Piero 109's comment here before we move to the second half? Because I know in our chat we were talking a little bit about Yildiz in the first half.
I was pissed. I was very pissed because it's been a few games now that Yildiz hasn't been performing, and I got a lot of hate on the podcast or the several episodes that we did do, where I said, well, we need to ask more from Yildiz or expect more, and that was exactly the feeling I got in the first half. And I just feel that with Kenan, I know he's young and you have all these excuses going for him, but at a certain point you have to step away from these things and say, okay, but he needs to deliver. And the same with Chico. Like, Chico had a good game. I agree with Kevin. I agree with you. But in the end, he gets paid to, hand out assists or score goals, and he doesn't do that. And the good game that Chico had will be a long gone memory by next week. Whereas if he scored 2 goals, then we'd still be talking about it come end of March. So I'm a bit, I don't want to be overly critical, because people tend to call me overly critical. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I'm known as Negative Nancy around these parts, and maybe rightfully so. But at the end of the day, it's all about, scoring goals and handing out assists, especially if you're a forward player. And if you don't do that for a couple of games, then I think it's quite normal that people start to ask questions and the pressure gets bumped up a bit more, especially if you're earning almost 7 million a year. Yeah. I think that was our kind of reward towards Kenan and our piggy bank in order to build our team around him. But if you make such sacrifices financially and sportingly, well, I think it's normal that you expect a bit more from a player with his standards and his quality. So I'm not sure, but he came good in the second half, so that's a good thing.
I think your criticism is warranted, right? I think today he was definitely trying too hard. I agree with you. And if we can't, if we're always looking at our players through rose-colored glasses, then assessments are never going to be accurate. I know you had a long conversation with Beppe on Thursday with Zach, about outgoing and incoming players and balancing that and making sure we make smart choices. But if we are not able to apply a constructive lens to every player to see their value, assess what we're going to get from a transfer or a sale, we're not going to grow and we're not going to become the Juve we want to be again. So halftime, had some halftime subs. It was Boga for David, pushing Yildiz center, and Kelly for Gatti. You kind of touched on Kelly for Gatti already. Any thoughts on Boga coming in, shifting Yildiz a little bit more central?
Boga for me is I'm going to jump ahead of the curve and not wait for the big testicle jingle. But Boga was my man of the match, in all honesty. He was the one that flipped the switch over and made us seem a lot more dangerous, brought some tempo into the play. was very threatening with his actions, very direct, has the quality to do so as well. Had a couple of smaller chances that he created himself.
Mhm.
Was certainly somebody that Pisa needed to keep an eye on, and I think that 10, 12 minutes into the second half, you could see Pisa double teaming him and putting two people on him, which made it easier for Yildiz in that middle because he got a lot more space, and also for Chico on the right. But that was a bit wasted in the sense that Chico wasn't as how shall I put it, concrete as Boga was. And I think Boga helped us through a lot of games, but today was, I think, an amazing performance by him.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially given the fact that he's not completely match fit yet. And I'm not sure if when Boga will be completely match fit and can handle the 90 minutes, I'm not even sure that Spalletti will want to leave him out of the starting 11. I'm pretty sure that Spalletti has some sort of game plan in his head where he, I don't know, gets that chemistry between Boga and Yildiz maybe going, and them intersecting or interswitching positions. I don't know, but it's going to be very hard if Boga keeps this up to keep him out of the starting 11. And in response to Del Piero 109's question in the chat, will we buy him? I'm pretty 99.9% sure we will. Everyone is very pleased. He showed a lot of work ethic. That was the main doubt of Juventus. Will he, put in the work in order to become match fit? Will he be a team player? Will he be something like somebody who could be of added value without being too interferent within the team dynamics? And thus far, he ticked all those boxes. So if he can get completely match fit before the middle of May, which I assume is a very generous time frame, then I'm pretty sure that for not even 5 million, we'll definitely sign him. Yes.
Yep. So there's actually since we're talking about a few published comments that he's made after the game. He mentions, I had a difficult time in Nice and didn't play, but I trained well. Here I found a coach and a team that gives me confidence. I try to give my best and help the team. When will I start is the question. I don't know. It depends on the coach. I'm always happy on the pitch. When I put on this shirt, I'm proud. I give 100% every minute I play. For now, I'll take every opportunity the coach gives me. I'm very happy. I mustn't forget where I've come from. I've had 2 or 3 really tough months for myself and my family. So now the coach gives me an opportunity, and I'm happy. This makes me happy. So seems like he's found a home, and maybe that 4.8 million price tag is not only is it reasonable, but going to land him in a spot where he can now show us, a little gratitude like he has been on the pitch. It's always nice to see a player pull on that shirt, realize where they are, and put in the effort, right? Too often, I think we've said it plenty of times before, we have players who think Juve is the destination, right? As opposed to really where it should be a starting point to achieve greatness, right? They pull on that shirt and they think they've made it, but really you haven't made it. You have to go and you have to put that 110% on the pitch. And it seems like he's ready to do that. And I can't take anything away from him. I do agree to a certain extent that he probably was the game changer today.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but given, we deserve a steal financially in the transfer market as well. For 5 years now, we've been overpaying players at random. So now it's nice to find somebody who clicks, not just footballing wise, but also mentality wise, because you could see when he scored the goal, and the goal was, it was of no importance whatsoever, but the way he took it, the way he made it, and the way he celebrated, you could see the relief, the joy, also parts of those frustration. And I'm happy to have signed a cheap player with a lot of quality, with that revenge arc, and that Juve is still one of the top clubs mentalities. And I just love him. I can't take anything away from him. I'm growing fonder and fonder of him every minute I see him play, and I know him pretty well from his time at Sassuolo, where he impressed me. But he wasn't the kind of player that you'd say he's somebody who can really change a team. but he's doing that right now in a short time span. So kudos to him.
Yeah, and you could tell he wasn't enjoying his time in Atalanta either. I think the player Sassuolo disappeared for a while, and hopefully we're the ones getting him back. Let's just take a few minutes, couple quick hits. Let's go through the goals. First goal coming from Cambiaso, header at the far post in the 54th minute. Assist from Yildiz, and there was a hockey assist there from Chico. You have any comments about that first one, Frederic?
I think this was one of the chances we created that led to a goal where we upped the tempo significantly. And you had, with that high tempo, Yildiz with the talent that he has to, keep that overview of who's where, provide a decent assist for Cambiaso, who, let's be honest, couldn't miss. But kudos to Cambiaso for sniffing out that goal and heading to the far post. So it was a un-Cambiaso-like moment where he used his head and did something right. So also kudos to him, because it seems like we're bashing on him all the time, but he played a decent game today. Didn't have his Cambiaso blackout moment, as you eloquently put at the start of the episode, and he made a contribution. So I'm happy for him, happy for the team, and I'm very happy that it didn't took us any longer to get that first goal in, because you could see us growing more nervous by the minute, and every moment that passed was a moment that it'd be a lot more difficult for us to get that breakaway. I'm glad we did, and I think everybody who watched the game could tell that after that first goal, you could sense that relief into the team, that boost of confidence, the tranquility, which was something that we needed in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, just to highlight that, they played a little bit freer after that first goal, and I like that they were still pushing forward and looking for the second, and knew that the team does seem to understand that 1-0 is a dangerous game, and even 2-0 is a dangerous lead. And after that first goal, there was 57th minute. I have a note, that really long ball from Perin up to Chico, and of course Chico did a Chico, but it was nice to see him picking his head up instead of trying to slow the game down, realizing it could have been a one-on-one, and playing that long ball. But not long after that, 63rd minute. Goal from Turin, center of the box, after Locatelli hits the post, which I know is not a Locatelli assist, but that ball into him, and then the shot to the far post was a really nice shot. It's just a shame for him it didn't go in.
It is, because Locatelli at this point is the guy that you want to see score, want to see succeed, as to crown off his games but there's still a post that stands in your way. I'm very happy for the fact that Thuram was cool enough and kind of got his revenge arc in as well, because I know he's still mentally concerned about that Galatasaray miss. From what my sources tell me, he talks about it every day in the dressing room. So it's still something that sits deep with him. For him to have this type of release and have this turnaround, albeit it was just a tap in, but it's still a very, I'm not going to say difficult goal, but it was at a critical point, because being one goal up means nothing, especially not with our defense. But having that second goal come fairly early, just makes the gates or pushes open all the gates and makes us get the end result in. So kudos to him, and kudos for him celebrating with his coach of next season, because Spalletti's going to be here for quite a while. I kind of spoiled it this morning, I think. I was first before Gazzetto dello Sport and whoever reported it, but we kept it on the download, kept it between us. But Spalletti will officially renew his contract this next week for another 3 seasons. I have no idea about the wage or the salary. That's of no importance to us. I think it's more important for us to have some continuity on a coach front, and having a coach who understands not only the players but also the club, and having a coach that I think 80 to 85% of Juventini are cool with, and see future with. So I'm happy for that. It was his birthday. It was his birthday, as you said, which was a double party in that respect. But you could feel the vibes between the players, between the coach, and if it's for his contract renewal, that's fine. But if it's for his birthday, even cool. But you could see that they were thinking about him, wanted to thank him, wanted to put the spotlight on him, which is very nice by the players, but also, is something that makes you notice how important Spalletti is to them, which is something that we haven't felt for a long time. You had that a bit with Allegri, but then you had the results and all the other circumstances, surrounding Juventus that kind of took away from that. And now you have the center focus solely on Spalletti and the boys, which is good because they really do reinforce each other, in my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is on the renewal, because I'm not too we haven't spoken a lot about Spalletti in terms of you and I, and how we feel about him. I think my feelings about him were clear from the get-go, when everybody called me crazy when I said he would be the one that would change things around, especially in terms of playing style. I'm not sure how you look back on his spell up until now, and how you see the future with him.
I want to say, admittedly, I was on the fence when they first signed him. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. I know Spalletti to be a very tactically sound manager. He has some good man management skills. I think he does understand where he is. He's been at plenty of big clubs. He knows how to handle big personalities, which I think is important. We've talked a few times on our pods about some of the egos that are in the locker room, and you do need a manager to be able to manage those egos, right? In addition to, tactically set up the team to be successful. The team does seem to respond to him. And I think the Allegri is a good comparison, right? The team definitely played for Allegri. I don't know that they were suited for his style. I don't think the results obviously didn't follow. I think it's nice to see the players playing for Spalletti and the results following, and the playing style being something that is pleasing to the eye, pleasing to the fans, gives the fans in the stadium something to cheer for. It's important to have that as the club continues to grow, to go back where we would like it to be. But he's won me over, 100% won me over. I think that happened before we flipped over to 2026. I think the wins against Roma and Bologna in December were crucial. I know February was a rough month. I think we could sit and debate why February was such a rough month, both internally at the club and some external forces working against us. But I think he's got us going in the right direction. And had we, let this drag out, I've seen comments online, let the season drag out, see how he does. What if we don't make fourth? But I think even if we don't make fourth place, I know you and Beppe would be rooting for 11th, but even if we don't make fourth place, we're moving in the right direction, and we need to stick with it. We cannot start changing course again. I'm not, Comoli out. I think he needs a little bit more time. I don't want to see a new coach come in again. So I welcome the news of him getting a contract, whether it's 3 million or 8 million. I think it's up to this point, it's been deserved. He's earned it. And now I think we had a comment here. I'd have to go back and find it, but it's up to Comoli now, right? To there we go. To kind of give him some pieces so that he can put this together and make it.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I was very happy that he extended, because one of the main things that he wanted in order to extend was to have some say regarding transfers. So him extending, to me, is a validation of the fact that he'll be more involved within those transfers, incoming and outgoing, which to me, in all honesty, is very good, because Spalletti is a very down-to-earth kind of person, and is very realistic about transfers, and targets a lot more players than we feel. I mean, everybody can go and buy Haaland with unlimited money, as you would do on a FIFA game on the PlayStation, but finding people that are of a lot of value to your squad as a whole, individually, that's a tougher aspect. And if a coach can help there, and can pinpoint the characteristics that he wants in order to get some better performances in, because that's what we need at this point. We're doing fairly well, but we need to do a lot more than we did this season. And if he can intervene there, and maybe, And also Spalletti, somebody who's been in the business for a long time, knows a lot of players, knows a lot of coaches, knows a lot of agents. It's always better to have somebody with his kind of stature representing Juventus, especially within transfer or calling up certain players to see if they're interested or whatever. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. In
No.
In any leadership role, you want to see whoever that leader is, whether it's the player in the locker room, the coach, or the front office. You want to see them make an effort to build strong relationships. And while I haven't seen that from management as much, I do see that from the coach. I almost feel like he's making up the difference, which is great to see. And so Herc is here agreeing with us. Want to throw a shout out to Alex again, Carpe Del Piero 109. Keep commenting, everyone. We appreciate your engagement. Calciarinos, throw us some questions. It's just Fred and I today, so we don't have it's not an around the horn kind of style for those of you joining from the United States. And remember that sports show Around the Horn where we have four heads debating. It's just two of us. So throw us some comments we could throw up on the screen. We love to engage with you on these live shows.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then we missed the last goal, the Boga goal on the Locatelli assist. Since you skipped ahead, I'll do the same. I think Loca would have been my man of the match or my big testicles of the match. He played the nice ball that Kevin mentioned earlier. He had this nice long ball for the assist to Boga. In the first half, he had a beautiful crossfield pass to Chico that seemed to land right on his boot. I thought, besides for one or two misplaced passes, he did play one right out of bounds instead of playing it to Kelly's feet towards the end. It might have been some tired leg. But other than that, I thought he had a wonderful game. It's nice to see the play going through him. It's really nice to see Spalletti trusting him, particularly those listeners here, viewers who are at all fans of the Azzurri. Spalletti was not the biggest fan of Locatelli and never called him up. And I think it was a bit of a concern among Juventini how that relationship would develop. And I think it's flourished. And I give Locatelli all the credit for that goal. It was a nice finish. But Fred, any comment on that nice Boga goal at the end?
Yeah, it felt nice to see a player not choking in a one-on-one versus situation with a goalie. I think we haven't seen a lot of that this season. There were a lot of moments where we thought, okay, this has to be a goal from random players, not just to target anybody, but we had Chico moments, we had Jigrova moments, we had Turin moments, we had even Kenan moments, David moments. So and having seeing a player that has that coolness and still that overview after running a lot for that half and being as calm as a cucumber and even slotting it home, even if it was without any relevant importance, made me feel confident about the future. This is somebody that this was the cherry on top for him for his performance, and I'm very happy that he scored in such a nice way. So I want to sorry, because I saw this question popping up in chat from Del Piero 109 a couple of times. He asks if Vlahovic will be back next week. Vlahovic is already back. I don't think we'll see him starting against Udinese, but if he continues to train the way he does without any pain, because that's the big thing, he still has to go undergo some scans this week. And if he remains pain-free, I think he'll get some minutes, but I don't think we'll see him start. And for that respect, I don't think we'll see David start either. So maybe we'll start the coming game the way we ended this one. Who knows?
I hope I wouldn't mind seeing him. I think Udinese is a much more difficult opponent than, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, a much more difficult opponent than we think they are. They were up 2-0 against Atalanta earlier today, before Scamacca pegged two back. But, they're going to be a difficult opponent. I started the podcast by saying, there are many who think we have an easy road. There are no easy games in Serie A. Every game is a challenge. So I think we're going to need him. We haven't seen goals from forwards. This team is desperately missing a number 9. I think we know where Openda is on the pecking order now, right? 5 subs today, and I don't even think he took his jacket off.
I think he's right below the janitor in terms of pecking order. as of right now. Especially with, did you see that picture, by the way, on Instagram where he did that cupping thing? So I don't know if
Yes,
you know, Jack. So
I did see
he
it.
made a picture. He was cupped. I've tried it, to be honest, because
Mm.
everybody says it's so nice and whatever, and it's relaxing and whatever and they only did like my upper back because
Mm.
that was stuck, and it's nice, but he's this man is cupping from head to toe and posting it on Instagram. And Spalletti, not being a fan of Instagram as a whole or social media, I can safely say that if Spalletti scrolls through his socials and see a picture of Openda, because if you look at Openda, there's never like a training session picture or it's always like this tomfoolery kind of nonsense.
Here's my question though. Cupping is used for healing, right? And for recovery. What is he healing or recovering from?
I am not sure. I think it was drinking night over at his friend's house or something, because it can be. And uh, I'm gonna die on this hill, but I had a lot of people commenting, like saying, "But I saw a Panda train at what was it, Salzburg or whatever, and at Bruges and at the national team, and he always gives 100%. He is the one that is lacking the most in training. Like he just doesn't seem to care. There's no effort, there's no output, there's no communication, and that's why he started on the bench as a lot as he did, because he didn't prove himself throughout the week. And then posting a picture of you getting cupped. Yeah, let's say if we have to renew him, which is a likely case, I'm not sure we'll see him a lot more minutes on the pitch next season, if none.
I wonder what, if you put on your scoop hat for a moment, what are the chances he moves on?
It's difficult to say because from what I hear, there hasn't been a lot of communication between his management and Juventus management, which to me is kind of strange in the sense that you need to clarify your situation, because I know Openda's not going to be happy with the minutes that he's getting. Juventus is not going to be happy with the performance he's putting in. So we have a situation. That situation needs to be resolved, and you can only resolve it by communicating and seeing what the options are. And they're not doing that at this point. I don't know why that is, to be honest. Maybe there's still some way to get, underneath, away from the having to sign him. I'm not sure. Or maybe another deal's been put into place. I'm not sure. But there's not a lot of love between Juventus and Openda at this point. And it could go all types of ways, but I'm pretty confident that we are actively searching for a solution to get him out of the team without compromising ourselves financially too much.
I love Alex's idea, though I don't know that that's going to happen. So before, we've been almost an hour here, a two-man show. I shouldn't say solo, two-man show. So just a quick look ahead. We've talked a little bit about the visit to Udine to play Udinese. That is next Saturday. That is followed by two home games, the 21st and April 4th, Sassuolo and Genoa. I think anybody who follows Beppe and listens to Juve talk on Thursday knows that we've been saying we need 10 out of 12 or 12 out of 12 points. The first three are in the bag. I think next week is probably our more difficult of the three games that remain in that 12-point stretch. How do you see that one going? Do you have any concerns about it?
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns because we don't have a striker at this point. So I'm genuinely curious how Spalletti will handle that, because if we want to get some points against Udinese, then we'll have to press them, I think. I think that's our only valid option that we have, that we press them and keep the tempo high. But when you keep the tempo high, two things are going to happen. First of all, you're going to create a lot of chances for yourself, which is nice, but you need somebody to finish them as well. And as of this point, we don't have anyone to do that. So I'm curious to see how Spalletti will handle that. And the second one is that Udinese is very, very, very quirky on the counterattack, and we'll leave some space in behind. We're not solid in defense as a whole. So it's going to be an up and down game, and I'm curious to see how Spalletti will, react to that accordingly. I think this is going to be a game where Spalletti will start with a certain way and switch like he did today halfway through, because it's going to be very unpredictable, and you need to have fresh legs to keep that press active. I can't stress this enough. You need to press against Udinese, because if you leave the ball to them, and you kind of sit back and see what happens, then you're in for for a really tough ride. So I'm hoping
I think
I'm
that
hoping to see the formation that we ended with today, to be honest.
I think that Spalletti definitely saw something. When he makes that change, he definitely saw something in the team. He tried it, and it failed miserably against Napoli in December. I think the team just had not played that way. The team was not pressing the way they're pressing now. I even have a note here in the 84th minute. We're still pressing with Boga, and they're attacking third, trying to win the ball back after we're up 3-0. So it's definitely a different style. I think it does also give Yildiz a bit of a break. It's definitely that shift for him in the middle requires him to come back, and he has far less defensive responsibility in that formation. Because he does, even when he came off, I think there was a shot at it might have been the American feed. I don't know if it was the international feed of him on the bench, and he had an ice pack on his head.
Yeah, it was. I think he had an incident with Coppola, I think, just prior to being subbed, and I think that was the reason also for him being subbed, not just fatigue, but you could see that it was a fairly hard knock. But in terms of that, I wanted to ask you something, Jack. I'm gonna pull the Uno reverse card on you if you don't mind.
Anytime.
To me, and maybe it's because A, I'm crazy, B, don't know anything about football, or C, a mix of both, which could very well be the case. But in my opinion, this team looks a whole lot fitter under Spalletti in terms of running, in terms of aggressiveness, pressing by keeping that 0 to 100 button switch to 100 like 80% of the time. Is that just me, or do you feel the same way?
No, I definitely feel the same way, and I think part of it we talked a little bit about earlier, Spalletti's influence on the team, and them wanting to play for him. And there's a part of that psychologically for a player when they also see results and feel like there's progress. I think that's a big part of it. You're going to play harder. Anecdotally, we see that when we're playing smaller teams. We saw it with Pisa in the first half, right? A team comes to the Allianz and they play lights out. Some of those sliding blocks or the goalkeepers show up. Kevin always jokes that they're prime Buffon, when they play against Juve, right? That makes a big deal from a motivational standpoint. And I think having a good relationship with your coach, feeling like you share ideas and you're moving in the same direction is really important. That's part of it. The other part that I wonder about that I don't have an answer to is, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, that
Burgess.
Burgess. Thank you. What kind of influence is he having? What's his relationship with Spalletti?
Yeah.
Those are questions I would ask.
No, I know. He's very involved in the sense that you don't see him a lot in I don't know, pitch side interviews or montages of training or whatever. He's a very behind the scenes kind of guy, but he analyzes everything, literally everything. And he, from what I can tell, puts out personal programs for each player and even the next gen players. He monitors their calorie intake, their sleep, their recovery, even, and this is a joke. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but this was something my source confided in me. There were some people in the team, fairly young players, and they got handed Viagra or a derivative of Viagra. And everybody thought it was a joke, but if you know Viagra or the substance that is in Viagra opens up your blood vessels and just makes blood flow faster through your veins and through your body and helps with recovery as a whole. Gets more oxygen to your muscles, to your tissue, to your nerves and whatever. And so it was kind of like not even like a little crumb of the substance that Viagra has, but it increased blood flow in these players and helped their recovery, helped with the fatigue and whatever, because a lot of players, I don't know if you noticed, but we didn't have a lot of players lately that had cramping. Whereas in the Tudor or pre-Burgess era, you could see players falling down left and right around the 70-minute mark with cramps and whatever. We don't have that now. So I'm assuming that what Burgess is doing alongside Spalletti, because Spalletti's team, the staff is very, very, very good at what they do as well. And I think it's a good symbiosis, and it's working. So I'm very happy, and I'm really anxious to see what the combo Spalletti Burgess does to a team with a preseason, because they both didn't have that. They were called in the middle and make do with what you have and whatever. And with all these international games and 3 games a week in between, but now you have a full-on preseason that you can analyze and act accordingly. And I'm very, very curious to see what'll happen with them in charge, fitness-wise, because it's proven, especially in Serie A, if you're the fittest team of the two, and you're still standing at the 80th minute, you have a high chance of being the winner in that respect. So I'm very, very curious.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. I'm glad you were able to speak a bit on Burgess there, because I haven't read too much about what he's doing. It's really nice to hear. I'm sure our listeners and viewers appreciate. I do also, we've often talked about, you want players to come in and realize what shirt they're wearing, and that you want them to spit blood on the field. Well, the spitting blood only comes from the training, right? And there have been so many anecdotal stories shared on social media and interviews, notably, Patrice Evra, talking about the training, the diet, the monitors on him while he was sleeping, etc. That used to be the norm. Even most recently, for our international audience who doesn't get to see the American Champions League broadcast this past week, when Juve went out to Galatasaray, Thierry Henry shared a story from his limited time at Juve of seeing Tacchinardi training, running 10, 15 meters between 2 posts or whatever was placed out on the field, literally until he vomited.
Yeah.
He admittedly, as a young player, was like, I'm not ready for this. And even Tacchinardi and the coaches were like, just kind of stay off to the side. You're not ready for this.
Yeah. There's even a story floating around, like back in the Lippi area, they used to do their preseason literally in the Alps, in the region between Switzerland and Italy. That was their go-to preseason training ground. And by the end of year 2, they prepared everything where the players were training, because there was this big hill where they used to go up and down on. And the staff of the whole complex, because it was an hotel and whatnot, kind of a resort kind of thing, they placed garbage buckets alongside of the road for players to vomit in. So they didn't have to clean up after them, because they were used to the fact that players were, and you could see that because we had limited ability in the sense of a technical manner. You had a lot of great players, but Torricelli wasn't like the player you'd expect to do a sombrero and finish off with a bicycle kick or whatever. Neither was Pesotto. Deschamps had technical baggage, but not in the sense that he'd be overwhelming in midfield. But these guys ran like crazy up until the 95th minute, if need be. And that was something that helped. And then you had these technical players like Del Piero, like a Baggio, like a Vialli, like a Zidane. One could even also utter the word of the name of Edgar Davids in there. And that was a symbiosis of everything that you needed to have to be successful, all rolled into one package. And I think that's where we're aiming to do, especially now that we have a coach who's seen it all, done it all, lived through it all, and knows what to do. So
yeah, it's great to see. I do have some words from Spalletti, but and my Italian's really good, but you're gonna have to help me with the word "intrufolato." So his
means getting caught out, being trapped or enticed to, stepping into a trap that's been set up, to be honest.
So he says celebration with the team. It was a big hug because I guess in Truffaut I got stuck in Thuram's hair.
Yeah.
The images are beautiful. The boys make me feel completely at ease. Today, when they wish me a happy birthday, I told the boys that I'm in the right place to celebrate. Nice to hear. A gift from the club too, a renewal. This thing is simple. Our attention must be on the games. The future is created moment by moment. On the training that those who haven't played well, the future is created if we are self-disciplined day by day. The future is what we manage to do day after day. A contract doesn't count much. Question posed to him, do Juve work better with Yildiz as a 9? We've done some tests. He responds, the first striker must have a physical impact and must create numerical superiority in the attacking midfield to create space for runs, or excuse me, for insertions. There's not much space. You need to know how to pass and carve out space. Tonight, we didn't show that we didn't have these things here. Then someone came out from the inside and played more on the perimeter and moved the ball more quickly from side to side. Spalletti's explanation on DAZN. Then there were Boga's comments, which I shared earlier. And then Yildiz and Thuram, happy with the win. We didn't do well in the first half, but did much better in the second. We've done very well in the last few games, even if the results haven't gone our way, and we haven't managed to win. I'm happy with the team, and I hope we continue like this. So,
those were some shots fired towards Openda and David, a bit under the radar. He basically says we need a good striker in order for Yildiz to work, and that means you have no striker, or you don't consider David or Openda to be a striker, I think, because he literally says Yildiz would do even better with a striker alongside him.
Yeah, then there's Yildiz has a comment here. There must have been a question about his role as a striker. He says, I'm here for the team. It doesn't matter where I play. Right? Obviously, the response he has to give. When the coach tells me to play up front, I play up front. If he tells me to play left, I play left. There must have been a question about his calf. The blow hurt a bit, but my calf is fine. Then Thuram's comment, it's not that I'm a striker who always scores, but it's nice to score and help the team. You know, it was nice he had another shot on target. His first one, I made a note that he skied over the bar. I said typical Thuram. Yeah. It was nice that he was able to finish that off. So,
yeah, but I'm really surprised by the Spalletti comments, to be honest, because I think given our season and our objective and the fact that we are far from obtaining that objective, you'd be a bit more cautious in terms of your remarks. But Spalletti came out and said, well, I don't trust these guys. So
he got his contract.
Yeah, but the way I see it, he's not going to count on them a lot for the forthcoming 9-10 games. So that's saying a lot at this stage, because you could use anyone at this point. You don't need to rule anybody out. Anybody can be of value. And Spalletti being as harsh as he is at this point makes me wonder if there's any future left for the both of them. I already know the answer myself, but I really honestly can't see them coming back from this. And not to anyone's fault apart from their own, to be honest, because we're not asking a great deal from a Jonathan David or Lois Openda, just that effort. And even that, I mean, we could argue about David left and right, but even today was a testament to the fact that, you know, he's just not there, not physically, not mentally. Like, he's checked out already. Is it me that's imagining things once again, or do you feel that there's some shade of truth in there, Jack?
No, there's definitely some shade of truth. When Vlahovic comes back, I don't see either one of them starting a game. This was, you know, since his injury, was it late November, early December, sometime, like, this was their opportunity. I think it was multiple times in post games and other shows that we've done, you know, that one of them had to step up. And you referenced earlier, there was a few weeks where it looked like David was starting to make some strides, but again, inconsistent, falls off we mentioned earlier, he slows the play down too much, even when he is involved, and we're just not seeing it from him. And the way Spalletti wants to play, you look at all the teams that he's had, with the exception of his time at Roma, he always, I feel like, had a number 9 that, could appropriately hold up play. Granted, we'll have conversations, I'm sure, about Vlahovic and the concrete that ends up in his boots, but he does at times show flashes of being able to hold up play and play off his teammates. And I wonder if that's going to make a difference because he really didn't get a lot of time to play under Spalletti.
Yes.
And 3-4 weeks.
You know me for 2 years now, I think, Jack, or close thereof, 1.5 years, let's say. I've never been a Vlahovic fan. Not even before that. I never was ashamed to admit that or whatever. I have to say, because I'm somebody who tries to be objective. If you look at Locatelli and whatever, when they're shit, they're shit. And I come out and say it and say what I expect. Vlahovic's recovery, or the way that he recovered, is very remarkable. And these are words not coming from me, but from Juventus staff, in the sense that he really, really, really worked hard. The reason as to why a new team, a new contract, that's not relevant for me. But if you work hard and if you want to get back on the pitch, help your team get performances in, get goals in, whatever, having concrete in your boots, yes or no, at that point, is still irrelevant to me, because you need to have that starting point, that hunger, that mentality, that wanting to be there, especially when you're a player that is mentally fragile, because I think Vlahovic is mentally very unstable. He always seems to pick a fight with himself during some course of the season. But having that motivation, that mentality coming back from an injury, that's very nice. That's a good starting point, to be honest. And I'm not saying that Vlahovic is the next Haaland or he'll get us the Champions League victory or win us the Scudetto next year. Far from that. But if you analyze things, especially financially, then him renewing with the right motivation, the right attitude, and maybe even the right coach, because I don't think Mota nor Tudor were the right coach for him in terms of playing style, I mean. It could well be a surprise, because we were fast to, be negative about people like Kelly, and he came back with a vengeance. If he can, I don't see why Dusan can. And once again, he's not going to be the next coming of Haaland or Pele or a mix of both, but he could still prove his value. And I hope he does that consistently. Like, we have a season where he nets 15 to 20 goals in, and we're on to something.
Yeah, I could see him in 10 games now to the end of the season. Say he plays 9, right? Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Udinese 4 or 5 goals, I think could be expected if he finds form, and I hope he does. For his sake, it'd be nice to see him produce for the team. This is what he wants, right? He wants to be the hero. This is his opportunity.
Yeah,
right.
He needs to be the hero. Yeah.
So, all right, my friends. I'm going to wrap us up here, unless you have any closing thoughts on the game. I think we already did man of the match. I don't know if we want to do predictions for Udinese. Predict a win. I don't know if I'd go beyond 2-1, 3-1. I hope we score some goals, but you never know how it's going to go.
It's going to be one of those games that can go either way, and with either scoring format, to be honest. But I hope for a win. I think we'll pull off a win as well, because I think this was exactly tonight what the team needed, in terms of not just the performance as a whole, but seeing the darker shadows closing in after that first half, but then be able to follow your coach, follow the directions, get the tempo in, and pull it off. And I think this is testament to the fact that if we play with a nice pace, a nice tempo, and have the players who are technically more able than others try some of the things that they can do, then we can succeed. And I think Udinese is going to be a very good test for us in that respect. 2 games after that, I'm not too bothered, in the sense that I think that we'll pull through. But for me, Udinese, especially away, it's going to prove a very tough one. But I'm going to predict, take off my negative Nancy hat, and I'm going to predict a 1-3 victory for Juventus.
I'll go 1-2. I agree with your comment about the tempo is going to be key, right? Playing in their stadium, starting fast is going to be important. And I hope we can see some of that, considering the week of rest, or week between, I shouldn't say week of rest, week between games, which I think is going to be key, because I think if we want to play the way Spalletti wants us to play, that rest is going to be key between the games. If we're still going to be pressing in the 80th minute, and I said earlier that was reassuring to me to still be able to see that today. So
yeah. More importantly, prior to that post game next week, we still have our celebratory episode coming up, which I want to advertise once more for the people in chat. I'm pushing for this, guys, because we're gonna do some neat giveaways, and I really want you guys to win some, because I think I speak on behalf of the whole team. I speak on behalf of Jack, Zach, Kevin, Farad, Patrick. Who am I missing?
Damiano.
Sorry, Damiano. But it's going to be some cool prizes, and we want to share that moment with you, because we got there because of you, because of the things you do, the likes, the comments, the tuning in, the communication, and we couldn't be more happier than we are at this point as a team, and we have it all to thank to you guys. So be a part of it, show up. Get a giveaway win in, make some memories with us, and I just want to say once again, thank you to you all, especially for tonight and all the therapy sessions we had. I also want to thank you, Jack, because you're hosting tonight, which is, as I see in chat, not a very easy task to do with the whole StreamYard setup, but you've done an amazing job. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us, to setting things up, to having the road less traveled with regards to hosting. It was a very fun episode, and thank you so much for being here with me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It really is a team effort. When I was asked to join you guys earlier last year, it definitely was presented to me as a Turin Giants family. And it really is that we definitely step up for one another when we need to, because we are all still dads and have jobs. But those are just excuses, and we don't have excuses, because we have our Turin Giants family here who likes to join us every week. I want to thank all of you for joining us on the live. That was our look. I do have a couple of notes for a closing here. Juve 3-0 win today. When we step back and look at the game, Sorry.
You said 3-0. It was 4.
Oh, 4. Oh my goodness, you're right. Oh, I said
sorry.
4. Oh, I was writing this note before the 90th minute. There we go. I got to correct myself. Thank you. Let's see. That's the. I guess that was the kind of performance we've been waiting for, right? We want to see some consistency this season. Maybe not so much the first half, but definitely the second half. Shots were there. Expected goals were there. Finally getting the shutout, the clean sheets. Whether we can attribute much of that to Perin or not is up for debate. What does, I should say, stand out is how we managed the game today. Our team structure created pressure. Attackers found spaces. And the breakthrough came, by a nice team movement. There are bigger tests up ahead. Big one next week that we talked about. But hopefully we can build some rhythm, confidence, and with some clarity in the tactical approach that Spalletti has provided for us, we can get 9 out of 9 points before heading to Bergamo, I believe. So just one last reminder for everyone, wherever you are in the world as a Juventus fan, we have something here for you at Turin Giants. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course, full video versions of these episodes are always available on YouTube at Turin Giants Official. You can follow us on Instagram at Turin Giants, and you can visit turingiants.com to get our merch. I'm wearing one of our great sweaters here. Again, please join us for our 1K celebration that will be advertised on the socials this week. And don't forget any of our other shows. It's Black and White, The Scoop, and After Hours with Farhad. Everyone, that is episode 352 of the Turin Giants. Thank you so much for joining us. Fino alla fine, Forza Juve.